So if we go to the first slide, this is what I will cover. There will be a little bit of theory and practice. I think this will give you some key points, what is really important for outages. And when you see some abnormality, this will hint you what might be wrong. Then there will be some recommendations based on best practice and our observations regarding common and often mistakes. And we'll show some examples. I think we'll have some fun. Let's start with some theory, actually. Go to the next slide, please. So this is the most important probably slide in this presentation. And this is a key information for outages. I think if you understand this work quite well, you'll have no problem with outages anymore. So the first important point for outages is uniqueness. And uniqueness is not only document ID, but that's a combination of data provider ID from a platform perspective. So you should not worry about that because every data provider has unique ID. But the rest depends absolutely on your IT system and what you send. First is a document ID, which is in the header. And that's the first identification of uniqueness of outage. And then, what's really important is time series ID. And how well you manage that, this is a key information. Actually, combination of document ID and time series ID, that's uniqueness of outage ID. And every outage must have unique ID. If you send some update, this combination must match. If you send the same document ID, but different time series ID, this would mean different outage. So this is about uniqueness. Then, once platform identify that this is a unique outage, the key information after that is information about master data, about outage or asset affected. And for that, we are using the way actually that master data must be recorded on the transparency platform. Let's just explain how to do this correctly. So you know how to add, update master data. So basically, if you send outage for some asset, for generation unit, production unit, or transmission asset, this asset must exist and must be active. That's really important. There are cases that, for example, the submission of asset information is optional, it's not mandatory. There are some local restrictions from security perspective. I think you are allowed to not disclose this information. Okay. When you report asset information, you basically provide only EAC code or identification of the asset. All the rest about the asset is taken from the master data. And when you provide outages, you can provide also reasons and comments just to provide additional information about the outage. So all this is extremely important when you send something about outage. First, uniqueness of identification of outage, then identification of master data or asset affected, and additional information. So what will happen, for example, if you send the same document ID, the same time series ID, but different asset information? What do you think will happen?
Outage disappear.
Rejected.
No.
No.
Outage will stay with the old value history as it was,
Yes.
but this new information will be added as an update.
Yeah.
So if you send an update for already existing record or outage with a different master data, it will appear with different assets. And for example, if there are users who will try to retrieve via API information about this asset, they will not retrieve probably everything. They will retrieve because they need to specify in area, out area, or asset information. And only then they will retrieve this. And if this outage will contain information for 2 outages, in fact, so for 2 assets, so it will be a challenge for user to understand what happened. Well, this is important information. I will show you some cases, you will understand what's happening and how this can happen.
Maybe I'm so.
Yes,
maybe
please.
it's too early for this question, but when there's also an impact on NTC,
Yes.
this outage, when it's not possible for us, when it's a long-term planned outage is in the future, and an impact on NTC couldn't set or figured out. So is it possible to give recent comments within and say it's not possible and give a certain number, zero?
Well,
for
you can
instance?
always provide comments, and there you can explain everything that you want. And there will be recommendation regarding comments, because if you try to use your local language, like a German, for example, people from France might not understand that.
For
So
officials.
make sure that it will be understandable. But of course, you can comment that in the comments field, whatever you want. That's a free text field.
Yeah, but in the NTC column, it's just allowed to make an
Just
integer.
Just a number. Yes, that's integer. Exactly. But you can always comment.
So the plan is maybe we will make an impact on NTC 0 and make a
Comment, exactly. Please comment if there are some certain, because users should be able to understand what is published, and if you will clarify that, that will be great help.
Yeah.
And I will show you some good examples and not that good examples.
We do it in English, not one of our 4 official languages.
Yeah, well, if you do something in your local language, maybe you can add something also in English or
English.
Yeah, at least English should be somewhere.
And if we can calculate it out, the NTC, and it's clear, so we will send it with the same data provider, document, and time series number. So then it's updated.
So but now you see the uniqueness of outage. If you're targeting update some outage, you must send the same document ID and the same time series ID. This is a crucial. So now you know the key information about outage. You know how to update. Let's go further for additional details. You go to the next slide. This information about the status. So as you know, probably outage can be active, cancelled, and withdrawn. What is important actually, withdrawn is by default means that outage was somehow submitted by mistake or there was some error. And withdrawn means that outage was removed or was marked as a wrong publication. Cancelled means that was something like that. For example, that was a planned outage, but it couldn't happen because maybe some parts were not delivered, something happened in the market and it was not possible to perform this maintenance, so outage was cancelled. When outage, for example, was moved to some other hours, you can always send an update specifying a new version or higher version of the document and putting a new interval. So if, for example, outage cannot happen, you have a choice. You can cancel it and submit a new outage, new planned outage, for example, or just an update of existing outage. Your choice. So that's information. In the past, there was a solution that we didn't publish withdrawn outages. And that was really huge confusion from user perspective, because they were sending emails like, yeah, I saw outage and now it's gone. What happened? So basically we needed to show also on the GUI withdrawn outages. By default, for example, when you open this GUI view for outages, you will see only active outages. And because some data providers are polluting views with duplicated records and then canceling them, there was a case when, for example, when you open the view, you see a full list of 100 outages, which all of them are canceled. So we needed to actually, and then you don't see active outages anymore. So we needed by default to hide them, actually, to not show canceled or withdrawn outages. If users wants to check something that what is canceled, they can always select this, and they will see, they can check only canceled outages, or if they want to check also withdrawn outages, they can do this also. but by default, we show only active outages. This is why we needed to do this, because when we show everything, then there was full list of only cancelled outages. It was really difficult to find active outages. So these statuses exist, and what is really important, when you send outage, you can see there is an extraction of XML schema. In the gray, there is a line which contains information when you need to cancel outage or withdraw it. So when you need to cancel it, you send the code A09 in the doc status. If you want to withdraw it as a wrong publication, you send A013. If you don't use anything in that line, that means active. This outage is active. So now you know how to cancel and how to withdraw outage correctly. Okay. If you have any question, please feel free anytime. So if you go to the next slide, this is the same information about what I just mentioned. So if you want to cancel document, like a planned outage, you send a A09. If you want to withdraw planned outage, you send A013. But is it possible to, is it okay, is it normal to cancel forced outage? I can hardly imagine that case, but I think that's not normal. And I tried to find some examples on the platform, and the good news that we don't have such cases. So it looks that at least this is done well. On the product side, there are no, at least I couldn't find canceled forced outages. That would be not normal. Because if you publish something as a forced outage, if it is wrong, then you need to withdraw it, but not cancel. Okay, then additional information about what we publish, what else is available besides what I already mentioned. The nature can be planned for forced outage. In the regulation, you can see different wording of these let's say types. You can see planned and not planned or unforeseen, something like that. But we try to use across everything to these types of planned and forced. That means forced means that was not planned, but just happened because of something. For asset types, for generation, there are two types: production unit and generation unit. I think it's quite clear what is production unit, what's a generation unit. One production unit can have 0 to 1 to many generation units. Yeah, if there are plenty of small generation units, then basically you register only production unit without any generation unit, because you must register only generation units which are 100 megawatts and more. So that's but you are free to register even small generation units if you want. Regulation set only minimum threshold. Okay, for transmission asset we have AC/DC links, then transformers and substations. So these are types that you can use. If you will need some different types in the future, then we need to change it or add additional types. So if you go to the next slide, so then the remaining information is about comments and reasons. And it's quite often that this is done in a little bit strange way, probably because of IT developments. Basically, as you can see, I took this part of XML from a sample file. The idea was that inside the time series, you use the reason. There is a code A95 when you want to add some additional comment. That means that you want to provide free text comment, like an explanation of what this new NTC means and how it's calculated. And then after the time series, we have also another field where you specify the code for the reason. And B19, for example, means foreseen maintenance. B20 means shutdown, and there may be some other codes as well, but at least these are the most often used. What happens often, and then we'll show you later on some examples, that this part somehow is strangely done by some providers. Maybe I will not focus on that now. I will show you practical examples, and then you'll see how to not do this part. Practically, if you send one time series, you can specify at the end the reason, and that's completely sufficient. Even if you send multiple time series, and if all these outages have the same reason, because if you combine them in the same outage document, I think most probably there is the same reason why you plan this or foresee this maintenance. You don't need to put many times the same reason. It's absolutely enough just to put one reason. It will be repeated for all these multiple time series outages. I will show you some examples about that later. So, if you go to the next slide, this is quite important. So you actually know it is allowed to use multiple time series. And on the left side, I showed something like a first version of the document. For example, you send a time series document ID with version 1, and and document ID is also 1. And then you have 4 time series with IDs 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah? And then you send the same document ID with a higher version, but only with 3 time series which have IDs 1, 2, 3. So platform maps, as you remember, document ID and time series IDs. But then what happened with the last one, with the last time series ID, which has also some description of outage? What happened with this? Because all these 4 time series appear on the GUI as 4 different outages, 4 separate records. But behind there, they have the same document ID but different time series ID. What happened with this, the last outage? And the answer is that in this case, outage will be removed. If we go to the next slide, what does it mean, removed? Removed means that outage is not active, not cancelled, and not withdrawn. It's a special status. And currently the database, it remains with a code A16. And for example, on an SFTP extracts, you can find this A16, and in the practically that means that this outage is removed. If you try to find on the GUI, you will not find it. Removed is something like a deleted, but we don't delete data practically in the database. They're just flagged with a certain flag, and they have a flag that's removed, which is kind of deleted. And this extremely confuses the user. They're sending us proof that it was published and now disappeared, but they see this on a SFTP extract. And what we agreed during the last TPC meeting, we will change the status, and we will go to the next slide. And in these cases, we will show this outage as withdrawn. So if you send the same document ID with a higher version, where time series ID will be missing, platform will show it on GUI as withdrawn. And at least users will be able to retrieve this data via API and collect and understand what happened with this outage. So be careful. If you use multiple time series, please make sure that if you not send this, that should have this meaning that was a wrong publication. Okay? It's really important. And if you go to the next slide, this is just information which is very important, especially for generation outages, because this feature only since the beginning for transmission and it's quite widely used. But if you want to send profile or different values for the same outage, you know how to do this. Initially for generation, it was possible to send only one value, but not a whole profile. And what happened then generation companies, they split these outages into many outages. Currently, it is not need to do this anymore, and this feature is since December 2017. But if you try to find some profile for published generation outages, good luck to find it. You will not find it. It looks that this feature is there since probably end of 2017, but nobody is using it. It was requested by market participants, by data providers. It's not used yet, unfortunately. Still, many data providers, they send the split outages, and this is a really bad idea. If they can change it, they have to change this. I think this is one of inefficiencies that we have since 2017, and this must change. How to do this is shown here in an example. you see on the GUI, this profile can look, for example, like this. And how you send this, is the simplest way is to use curve type A03 and specify points where this capacity is changing. We just send a point, for example, 1 with this value, 0.7, 0.8, etc. Only just breakpoints, and that's it. That's probably the most efficient way to do this. So you can send a whole profile, and this now you know how to do this. So if you want to send not just one value, but many values, that's the way. Just use this example. It's simple. Of course, you can use curve type A01, but then you need to put every point there. If, say, value is not changing through the whole interval, nevertheless, you have to send all points. It is then your XML will grow quite fast. So if you, say, want to improve your outage messaging system, please think about A03 curve type. It's much more smaller. And if, for example, you will use A01 curve type, and if you switch, for example, to A03, your file size will decrease very significantly. Instead of thousands of rows, you will have 10 or 20 only. That's a big improvement. Instead of megabytes, you can decrease file size to kilobytes only, or some bytes even. It's really efficient way forward.
Darius, I think we have a question online.
Yes.
From Marcus, sent 10-15 minutes ago. How should this then be applied for uploading historic values?
Yeah, for historic values, actually, what you need to do actually, if you have outage, which say should have the profile, what you can do actually, you can send just a higher version and describe this curve type. If you already submitted these micro outages, then one way is just that you will keep only one record, and then you will update this one record, and all others you will withdraw or cancel. Depends what is done already. But simply you can update one record with whole information. A big efficiency is that instead of if you send micro these outages until there are 60, 50, or 70, or a few hundreds of these split outages, all can be described in one record in one outage. And this is extremely important not only for us, but also for all end users, and also Acer, and also the Commission. Because if you are polluting the transparency platform with multiple of these records, the same is happening on Acer side, the same is happening on all users' platforms. They download all these unnecessary data. That's, I think, it's big improvement for big efficiency, improvement and which can impact not only transparency platform, but also all users, including Acer and the Commission. It's really, please think about that. If something is still not clear, if you need any suggestion or advice, feel free to contact us that you have this situation, you want to change it, how we can do this. We're happy to help because we see it as a big help not only for transparency platform, not only for your IT system, but also for us. Because I can tell you that if you send multiple these outages, multiple micro outages or splitted outages, it's almost always that there are some gaps or some overlaps after some updates. It's really difficult for IT providers to update all these micro outages correctly.
But when it's causing so much or so many inconveniences, why it's still possible to send it with curve type A01?
Well, curve type A01 is what was initial solution since the beginning. Okay. But then we saw big files like, and then we thought about efficiency, and of course, curve type A03 provides you really good advantage, and if you can switch locally even to the curve type A03, at least for outages, that's a really good way forward. Actually, you can really make some files much smaller.
For us, it's we are not data provider for this kind of outage. But are the data provider knowing this?
Please feel free to share this information locally.
Yeah.
That's our observation. I sent to some, when I saw some really inefficient
I will
cases,
write it to them.
I sent some examples to some TSOs showing, okay, the original files and then the reduced files. Instead of a few thousands, a few hundreds of thousands records, I can decrease the file to a few hundreds of records or lines only.
I will ask them. We are not the only one who is using this data provider. So.
You're not the worst probably, but anyway, that's, I'm not using names completely because it's not the one, it's not two, there are more than one and more than two. Okay. We would like to really help them to switch to the new submission mode because that's a big improvement, a big efficiency.
Yeah.
As you know, for example, we need to send all outages to Acer, and if we receive these huge packages, we forward all of them, including cancelled outages, to Acer. And on Acer side, they have the same inefficiency. And what Acer usually can do, actually, they can suspend data provider, and then you should do probably the same. If you'll be forced by Acer to solve this problem, and if they will warn us that we might be suspended, we will do the same. Okay. We touched about profile. You know how to do it. You have our advice, so you see the room for improvement. Okay, we can go to the next slide. This is the problems with some micro outages that I just, or split outages. It's a big, as I mentioned, inefficiency. It's hard to understand for users. And if, for example, you report forced outage and you split it into these small micro outages, what happens actually, you report forced outages for the future, which is absolutely abnormal. And I show you some example. Like here, this is just from the platform. It's you have the warnings. And it's from user perspective, it's strange. It's unnecessary. And I can later on, when data providers needs to update this information, after several updates, they're losing, let's say, mapping of this outage. When outage ends, a second starts. Then there are gaps or some outage overlaps. I can, if you go to the next slide, probably, yeah, that's about improvements. But I will show you later maybe some examples. Recommendations from what we saw actually: one outage, one document. Well, you can use multiple time series, but even really advanced TSO, they have problems with updates. So if you can avoid that, our recommendation, think about that. Maybe you can use a few of them, few time series, but if you're using 20 or 10 time series, after several updates, it's very often that there are mistakes. Yeah. And this recommendation, one outage document, was also initially recommended by Acer. So I completely agree with them from what I see on the platform. Actually, almost all errors that happen with publication are related to multiple time series. So almost all of them. Try to keep it simple, then it's easier maybe to track on your side. But now you know. And please remember, unique outage is document ID plus time series ID. They must be unique and the same. So as I mentioned, time series, they have also their own unique ID. Just again, so better to repeat. And so when you need to update some time series, you need to include all time series that you reported, including, and please use correct time series IDs. And so we quite see often that we receive packages of all different updates. And what can happen actually that if you send version 1 to 3 in the same batch, that your version 2 will be processed first, and version 1 will be rejected then. If you send these multiple updates, some updates in the same batch, wait for acknowledgement and only then send the higher version. It also looks strange from user perspective when the first version and the next version, and the difference between these two versions are milliseconds. They don't. It's really strange why it's so frequently updating with key information like available caches or something like that. Why it's happening so fast, so quick? It's really strange. And before you, as Lax mentioned, that if you want to cancel some metadata, please double check if there are no published outages, especially active outages, because there are many cases when data provider remove or decommission some asset, but outages are still there, published. So it's about that. So then will be about data quality, some observations, some fun. It's just a quick summary, but let's go to the next slide. Let's start with the reasons. Next slide, please. Let's start with the reasons. And sometimes we see many reasons, like in this example, and why, because this foreseen maintenance is so important that is repeated so many times. And here you see the problem. When data provider reports multiple time series, for example, if there are 5 time series, usually they include 5 reasons. And sometimes these reasons, they have the same. And then what you see, what happened on the platform. All these 5 reasons are published for all these 5 outages. So if you send one document ID with several time series, one reason is sufficiently enough. Otherwise, we will see like it is shown here. You can see that foreseen maintenance and shutdown, you can see a lot of different combinations, and it's really interesting. And it's no need to do this probably. We go to the next one. And I don't think that all the areas are using this reason code correctly, because sometimes they're just a very general, that's a failure, and that's it. But sometimes, even for example, for forced outage, you can see foreseen maintenance. How this is possible? Maybe you know better, but that happened actually. Or no reasons, or you can see, for example, for plant outage is a failure and foreseen maintenance. Please double check what is used for reasons and if it really makes sense. These reasons are just a code, so you cannot have, let's say, anything that you want. If you want to clarify something with a pretext, you should do it in a comment, and I explained before how to do this and where you have to do this. If you go to the next slide, with NTCs, there is interesting that you can see sometimes negative values, and users really have, maybe it's very clear to you, but from users' perspective, it's really strange that they don't understand what does it mean, why it's negative, or sometimes it's not expected, which is even more interesting. I think these values should be meaningful, and if you want to comment them, you can comment in the comment field. Otherwise, it's difficult to understand. And if you go to the next slide regarding EAC codes, Acer is already validating EAC codes, and they reject wrong EAC codes. What will happen quite probably soon, and saying very soon, but probably this year or maybe next year, they will connect probably, and they will download all data from Central Issuing Office, from the CO, all EAC codes. And once we'll have all EAC codes all from local issuing offices, probably they will start also stronger validation for fundamental data. And all codes like that will be definitely rejected. So it means you will not be able to send these outages that you will publish on the platform. So probably we need to think about stronger validation for EAC codes also on the platform, just to avoid these dummy codes on the platform. There are also some timelines which connects 12 lines, 12 countries, for example, 12 areas, like super power line. I don't know how to explain this to users, but there are such cases. So make sure that EAC code is published locally and maybe in central issuing office, and because users are asking more and more frequently where they can validate the code, where they can check details for this code. If you're using something, make sure that this code somehow is accessible by users. And available, if you go to the next slide, then it's about available capacity. So I can say that sometimes outage is very good because available capacity is higher than installed. So it means outage is not only bad that something can happen, but it can really give you rather higher available capacity than even technically it's possible. Yeah. What happened in these cases? Platform generates warning, but of course, if your system is not able to process that, then it remains as a warning. This is why all warnings that actually are generated by the platform is a really good information about data quality. And tomorrow we'll have this training session on integrated reports, and one of these reports is a report on warnings, where you can see overview of all warnings that platform generated. Please take a look. This is a really interesting and important information. This warning report can give you hints where you might have some problems and where you need to fix something. And this is one example. So overlapping outages, this is happening when document ID for the whole document and time series ID are not properly managed. When you send updates with a new document ID or with a new time series ID, then this might happen. And this is just for information. You can see the multiple duplicated records, and this is because the same outage was received so many times with a different document IDs of outage IDs, which is a combination of document ID and time series ID. So this is what's happening. And if you go to the next slide, also the same. Then of course was try to clean this, to cancel them or withdraw them, but nevertheless all these records remains as in database, as on the GUI, and all users wants to then download all these updates, and the same is challenging for them because there are some restrictions how many outage documents or how many XML files you can retrieve. There's a limit to 100. You cannot get more than 200. So this is really challenging if you send several hundreds of, say, duplicated records and you cancel them. It's not easy for users to download all these cancelled or withdrawn outages. So this duplicated outage is really not friendly. Currently, platform generates only warnings, but if you are ready for that, we can enable strong validation and reject duplicated outages. Duplicated outages only if there is a duplicated or overlapping outage for the same type. If you have overlapping of planned and forced outage, that's okay. It can happen. You can have, for example, planned outage, and then something can happen, and maybe a generation unit trip, and then sometimes you can have overlap. Of course, later you need to update planned outage, move it, or cancel it. But it can happen that different type of outages can overlap. But if planned outages are overlapping, then it's a big question if it's normal. At least users have difficulties to understand that. So this is about what you can see on GUI. And if you go to the next slide, then some information about forced outages, as you mentioned. It's happening that actually forced outages are sent for the future. For example, there are even some forced outages which are published for 2020. I think it's some kind of bugs, maybe mistakes, but what happened in these cases, Kratom generate warnings and you can easily detect them and then correct them. And of course, there are also some areas which have no forced outages at all. It's so good maintained, but not reported at all. What happened actually, if you go to the next slide, what Lex mentioned when you actually cancel or decommission some asset, but outages remains. So then what users can see on the platform, they see active published outages, but asset information is not there because asset is already decommissioned for that period. And outage information is not shown on the GUI. And this is why we recommend actually just to double check. It's not maybe that difficult to check if all outages say are withdrawn or decommissioned or cancelled at least. With this output generation or transmission message to be decommissioned. Okay. And then about often mistakes, I mentioned all the multiple time series, and this is an explanation of what usually happened. So you sent first what I already mentioned. You sent header, let's say document ID 1 is a 4 time series, and then, for example, you want to update the second time series outage. Yeah. And then you send something, for example, when we receive only 3 time series, but second time series have information for the third time series of the previous version. Yeah? What happened actually on the platform? Then this is how platform will map these IDs for different time series. If your idea was to send time series ID for the third outage, for the third previous version outage, it will be not linked to the third MRID, it will be linked to the second MRID, because this is how outages will be matched and it will be updated. And what will happen actually then, as I mentioned in the previous version, then your the fourth time series ID will be removed from, or withdrawn in the future. And yeah, this how this will be updated on the platform. And this is quite often mistakes when you see that one outage was, let's say, published with the one document ID for the one asset, and then suddenly from second version there is a different asset. This is how this mistake happening, because these outages, this time series have not correct IDs. Maybe here idea was to say to withdraw or cancel time series outage 2, but in fact it was sent like 2 and 3. So these two time series outage with the time series ID 2 will be updated but not withdrawn, because platform will see time series ID 2 in the next version. Maybe you want to withdraw this time series ID, but it will be not withdrawn. What will be withdrawn is the time series ID 4. This is what's happening, and it's really difficult to find what happened. It really takes a lot of time to find really what went wrong. But from user perspective, that's really, really difficult. So if you go to the next slide, then there are some examples regarding multiple time series and splitted outages. This is just an example from Ericsson. They do this quite often, splitted outage into many time outages, and you can always find some gaps. Always. Initially, it was really much more worse, but now, even now, actually, you can find some gaps, like in this example. There are some small outages which are following one after another, and then there is a gap, and then it starts again. Or like with a multiple time series, like in this case, for example, until version 135, there was a border between Austria and Czech Republic, and then direction was switched because not correct time series was updated. There was documents with a 5 or 6 time series, and then something went wrong, and not the right time series was updated. Or the same for generation, for example. If you go to the next slide, you'll see another example for generation units. See, until version 18, there was an outage for one generation unit, and from the version 19, there is an outage for another generation unit. This is not the only example for that area. The same is happening for other areas. This is not a unique example. That's the only area. So a similar situation is happening with outage. So if user will click on outage details, they will see all updates. And this is what I can see. It's completely transparent with a good and bad things inside. And this can help to find why users cannot retrieve, let's say, updates or versions for this actually document ID. They can see that probably from that version there's a link or there's another asset information inside. So what we need to do actually in the future, we already have this change request for APIs, that this asset information will be optional in cases if document ID is used, and at least users will be able to retrieve all updates for different assets and for different directions in case if this happened. Okay, and if you go to the next slide, then there's some examples of commands. As you can see, sometimes you need to learn the languages if you want to understand what is there. try to use English. Maybe if you want to add some local comments, please do so, but make sure that there is also something in English. Also, what is...
Cannot read it anyway.
I open the platform and...
I was checking if it's one of our languages.
You can find something if you want. No problem. If you want to check good examples for comments and reasons, try to look, for example, Belgium or Nordic area, Denmark or Nordic Baltic area. I think this is handled by Nordpool Sport. I think it's quite well done. I think if you want to see some good examples, then Nordic area plus Belgium is really good examples. These are good examples from my point of view, but you can have different view. That's quick overview of bad and good things. So now you are experts on outages. You know how to do it correctly.
Already.
And you're ready for challenges. So if you have any question, if you want to verify something, still something